Hey everyone, not sure how I should start this post, so I'll just introduce myself and start from the beginning. My name is Jared, I'm 17 years old now, but the events that I'm about to tell you happened about 5 years ago. It started with me and my grandfather William. We were going fishing just like we had many times before in our little boat in the middle of a lake. I loved those moments with my grandfather. It was relaxing and he would tell me stories all day long. One day it all changed, however. A day I wish never happened. Still, after 5 years, I'm not forgetting any details. It's still burned deep into my mind. It started out normal enough. We gathered our fishing gear, got it in the back of our truck, and hopped in. We headed out for the lake and the drive went by smoothly. After we got there, we transferred all our gear from the truck into the boat and got in ourselves, letting the water carry the boat as we made our way a bit deeper. It was beautiful out in the water surrounded by nature, our boat gently rocking left and right. It was a great lifestyle and we both loved it. As we were casting our fishing rods, my grandpa telling me one of his stories. I noticed something glinting a bit in front of our boat. I pointed it out to my grandfather, who decided to try and fish it out. Maybe it was a necklace or something, and we thought that it would be cool if we found something like that in the water. As my grandfather cast his line and started to roll it back, I could see he didn't catch the shiny object. He did catch something though. I could see it even under the water. As he pulled the object out, we could both see that it was a bone. Weird, we thought, but nothing out of the ordinary. It was small enough to be a fish bone or something, so we just cast the line again. This time, however, the line seemed to struggle with the weight, but we could see the shining object coming up. As he was bringing it out, I could see the object was attached to something bigger. But in the water, I thought it could just be some random trash laying around. As he got it out of the water, however, it all changed. What we saw in front of us was, without a doubt, a human skull, and there was a pendant attached around one of its eye sockets. My grandfather quickly tossed the fishing rod from his hands and he wanted to go home immediately. We didn't bring cell phones, so we had to get back home to call the police. We made it back and in a rush we jumped into the truck as he sped off. It was slowly starting to get dark as we made our way home, the forest surrounding us. I thought I could see a shadowy figure running along our side in the forest on multiple occasions. I didn't bring it up to my grandpa, however, because it looked like it was a humanoid but running on 4 legs, and I was sure humans can't run that fast, so I just thought it was my imagination because I was scared. When we got home, my grandpa called the police and told them where the lake was, and that there was a fishing pole there too. Some officers came to our house to get a report, and we explained how we came across it. They thanked us for our time and were on their way as me and my grandfather watched behind. That night I had trouble sleeping, waking up multiple times to see a shadowy figure in the corner of my room, just for it to be gone after I blinked again. I woke up the next morning feeling tired, like I had just ran a marathon instead of sleeping. I went downstairs and my mom had already cooked me some waffles for breakfast, which made the morning a bit more bearable. I loved waffles. I finished up eating and headed outside to play with my friends, but I could never shake the feeling of being watched. When I brought it up to my friends, they would say that they felt normal, and that I'm just paranoid. I believed them. I hadn't seen anything after all, and I was ruining fun for myself and them because of my paranoia. It still didn't help. In fact, every day that went by, the feeling became stronger and more frequent. It had gotten to the point where I didn't want to leave the house at all because I was feeling unsafe. When my grandfather saw me acting strange, he asked me what was wrong. "I don't know, Grandpa. I saw something moving parallel to our car when we were coming back from that lake," I said, expecting him to comfort me and say how everything is going to be fine. What I saw instead was a pure look of terror and panic on my grandfather's face, as he got up and frantically paced around the room. "They followed us. I should have known they'd follow us. They never found that damned skull. It was a trap all along," he said as I saw a couple of tears forming in his eyes. "Why the hell did you tell me this now, huh? Why didn't you tell me earlier?" he yelled as I started to cry, thinking I had done something terrible. "I'm sorry, Grandpa. I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me because I was scared. I couldn't." I trailed off as tears coated my cheeks and dripped from my face. My grandpa didn't even look at me as he headed for the stairs. "We're doomed." I could hear him mumble as he made his way up. I couldn't sleep at all that night. I felt guilty. I didn't know why my grandfather was so upset. Sure, I could sometimes see a figure in the shadows or feel something watching me, but it never affected me otherwise. When it was about 4 a.m. and I could finally feel my eyes getting heavy, I could hear some sort of chanting sound mixed with buzzing. Right after that, I heard a loud crash in the hallway. I didn't know what it was, but I was too scared to look. I stayed in my bed until I heard my mom scream loudly. I jumped out of bed, not caring about the fear anymore, thinking something bad had happened to my mother. As I rushed out to the hallway, I saw my mother crying over my grandpa, who was lying on the floor. When I got closer, I saw the reason she was crying. My grandpa looked like he had drowned. Blue color enveloping his skin, his clothes wet. I couldn't hold my vomit in any longer. I puked all over the floor, feeling nauseous and lightheaded as I passed out. I woke up in my room, my mother sitting next to me on a chair. She hugged me after I woke up and cried on my shoulder. I asked her if Grandpa was dead, and she just nodded her head. His lungs were full of water. No one knows how it happened or how he got to the hallway in that condition. It was all a mystery. My mother did, however, report that she heard whispered chants along with buzzing. After I told her I heard the same thing, she was shocked, thinking it was all in her head from the lack of sleep she'd been getting recently. We both went to bed that night, my eyes growing heavy as soon as I lay down on the bed. I dozed off almost immediately from exhaustion, but I was awoken by the sound of whispered chanting and buzzing coming from the hallway. Thinking it was whatever had killed my grandfather, I stayed in my room, silent as the night outside my house. That was until about 20 minutes later. I once again heard my mother scream, and then gurgle like she was drowning. I jumped out of bed again, but as soon as I reached for the door, the sound stopped. As I opened it, I could see my mother in the same state my grandfather was the night before. Blue skin, wet clothes. I started crying uncontrollably for hours until I finally found myself going to the phone and dialing 911. An ambulance and police officers came. I don't remember any of it. The funeral. Those couple of days went by in a blur. I found myself in a foster home right up until last month. They let me come back to my property because I was turning 18 soon. As I'm recording this, there is a sound in front of my door. It sounds like whispered chanting and buzzing. I think they are waiting until 12 a.m. when I turn 18. This is probably my last day here, and I wanted to post this as a warning to everyone. If there is a shiny object in the water while you're fishing, turn around and go home. It's not worth it.